Welcome to Paradigm Shift Ibble's question of the now. Where do we come from before we are born? Add to the thread, click the plus sign above. We look forward to having you join the conversation. If you happen to be new, please take a moment to be able to listen to some of these instructions and guidelines. Each thread is an intentional space created to practice sharing and listening. Your replies can be up to 3 minutes in length. Aim to be concise with your response. Think of it as a co-created podcast. Please avoid adding multiple replies until more than 5 people have added to the thread. Add comments to people's replies. Be respectful and supportive. And most importantly, have fun exploring the mysteries of the universe together. Enjoy.
Aloha, fellow seekers and shifters. Brendan here, MysticSpiderman, the director for Paradigm Shift Ibble. Thanks for joining in. And again, just as a quick introduction with any of these topic threads, first of all, thank you for joining. And with it, I want to be able to invite everyone to be able to use this as an opportunity for you to be able to just kind of explore within your heart. You don't have to think so much about what you're going to say as much as just as an opportunity to be able to allow what comes from the heart up onto the surface. So take a moment here before you answer your question to just be able to breathe in. You guys got 3 minutes to be able to add your reply. So this question, very cool question. Where do we come from before we are born? To me, this question actually really helps kind of like connect some very interesting dots. One of the things that I love being able to explore is the idea of dreams and lucid dreaming, because it points to this idea of the astral planes, the astral realms. From my best guess, it seems that, like the place that we go when we die, the place that we go when we dream is probably a similar thing to the place that we come from before we are born. So before we come into this physical body, it's like we kind of like exist from this sort of like this non-temporal perspective of outside the physical dimension where the soul can kind of almost like see beyond space and time, and we can almost kind of like choose our lifetime, choose our experiences, even choose our family. Dolores Cannon talks a lot about this, to be able to kind of like see things from this bigger picture where we can be like, yes, that's where I want to be able to incarnate into. Where we come from before we were born, it's very similar, again, just using metaphors, and this is all just best guesses, right? That's what we're doing here, is exploring the topic, not necessarily finding the definitive answer. It's very similar to what may be kind of like a video game where, like right now, like it's like we're in the video game, we're playing the character. This is a real world MMORPG, an RPG, a role-playing game. Before we were born, it's like maybe that's like the part of us that's kind of like walking around the room about to sit down on our computer, and then before we even like open the game and everything like that, we're like just kind of like managing, deciding, be like, oh well, what level do I want to load, what character do I want to play as? And then once we like click the start button, load up the level, it's like boom, we get injected, and then it's like and then here we are. Again, kind of a metaphor, but maybe that is something that's actually to it, where before we were born, do we have like an intelligence? Do we have a consciousness? It's very fascinating. And again, I love the idea of children, obviously being a new father and everything like that, children being so intimately connected to source, and then having like access to the secrets of the universe and everything like that. There's a lot of interesting hints that kind of point to the idea that, like we don't just emerge from the womb as just like this pure, just like this thing that just like is a bunch of cells coming together, but we're actually the consciousness that is coming into the physical body. And then where we come from before we were born is, another version of these higher dimensional realms, so to speak. Love to hear what you think. Thanks so much for joining.
Brendan, thank you for the invite and for asking this question. I honestly don't know how to answer this one. I think it's something I used to think about a lot. And I can definitely relate to, having a newborn baby and thinking about where do they come from? Like, where were they before they were here? This little magical being is here now. Like, where were they before? Lately, I have been, really pursuing being in the present moment. And so in some way, it's almost like, when was I born? Like, what does that mean to be, what is before now? I feel like I'm honestly, constantly being reborn in some weird metaphysical sense. So yeah, I guess I'll have to think on that some more, but, thanks for the question and thanks for the invite, and I hope you're all doing well.
Hey, Brendan. Hey, brother. Okay, so the ancient knowledge talks about that our consciousness, the energy within and without our bodies, is as big as the universe. Firstly, our consciousness is so large it's as big as the universe itself, and it has been around before time. So they used to say that every single consciousness that exists is bigger than the universe, and it's been around since the dawn of time. So you have been here and other places in the universe again and again and again. And we choose in certain places like here on Earth not to remember because it makes it more interesting or more difficult. Maybe I'll explain that more in the future. So continuing that on, the interesting thing is that there was a document released in 1983 from the CIA, who it was actually done in the 50s, and after the 30 years they released it, Operation Gateway, where using science and whatnot, they were studying atoms and studying everything, and they said that the universe itself is conscious, that we interact with it, and our consciousness cannot die. It just moves on into other bodies or into other situations, and everything is interactive, and in essence everything is holographic or energy. It's where the simulation theory comes from, it's where the holographic theory comes from, and that was Project Gateway back in the 80s.